Hey everybody, Nicholas Snow here, your PromoHomo.TV guy, and I'm coming to you at 6 p.m. on September 28th, 2022 Pacific Time. And this is the season premiere of Higher Powered. And my guest is my longtime friend, Ken Seeley, who I have more than a friendship with, which we'll get into. Now, the headline for this episode is taking 12-step recovery out of the closet. And for people that are in 12-step programs who might be feeling a little nervous and horrified, I want to give a little bit more information to put you at ease. So, this series, Higher Powered, spotlights stories of experience, strength, and hope infused with infinite views of spirituality and purpose. So, we focus on higher thought, spirituality, broader consciousness, all kinds of things, and the experience, strength, and hope that is often contained within 12-step programs. So we're exploring that experience, strength, and hope in a way that is respectful to the programs. Because people in 12-step programs are encouraged not to name those specific programs in public media and in keeping with the traditions of those programs. It's because those programs are completely structured. They have no leaders. I do not represent a 12-step program. I only speak from my own experience. So take what you like and leave the rest. My guest is Ken Seeley. He's really taken recovery out of the closet. He's known very famously from Intervention on the A&E network. He's remained professionally and personally involved in recovery since his sobriety date of July 14th, 1989. His greatest personal satisfaction comes from working with clients and their families as the founder and owner of Intervention 911. He's been the featured interventionist, as I said, on the Emmy Award-winning A&E television series Intervention since 2005. Ken's success rate has turned him into one of the most sought-after interventionists in the country. He is a subject matter expert and often speaks on substance abuse and mental health disorder topics at professional conferences around the world. So that's who's coming up in this show. I cannot wait. I'll have him here with me right after this. To call Ken Seeley my good friend would be an understatement. I consider him a member of my family, someone I love from the bottom of my heart. Welcome to the show, Ken Seeley. Hi, Ken.
Hey, Nicholas, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you. It's been way too
It's,
long.
I know, I know. Aloha.
Aloha, yes.
Yes, I'm in Palm Springs. You're in Hawaii. I would like to change places with you because I know what your view looks like right now. Yes,
It's very nice.
you're facing out toward your view.
Yes.
So, what do what do you ever get criticism from people within the programs about your visibility? How do you handle the tradition around programs in terms of being out in the public media about a specific program and your own participation in it?
Well, like you said, I don't, the program isn't, to be, uh, there is no leader for the program, as you talked about in the introduction. So it isn't like I'm just a regular member. Like I just joined a new home group out here in Hawaii. Um, During COVID, I had the traveling home group that was all on Zoom. and we would meet twice a week. And now I go to TYG, thank you God, out on the beach. And where is that? And out on, it's beautiful. Every morning we go out on the beach. There's a big awning if it rains, so we could sit under that. But so AA is completely different than my work. My work is about getting people as a professional into treatment that aren't willing to go to treatment, and the families have tried over and over. So they're completely different, even though, recovery could mean so many different things. Like sometimes when I take people to treatment, I take them to a non-12 step program. I'll take them, or they've tried 12 steps and it doesn't work. So they want to do MAT, medication assistant therapy. So what I do for a living has nothing to do with the 12 steps. That's just one of the options that we have on the table for people to get into recovery with.
Fantastic. I appreciate that answer. And I was aware of the answer, but I wanted you to nuance it from your own perspective.
Yeah.
What, you've been sober for a long time, and you've been advocating for other people in so many different ways. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken is my sponsor in a 12-step program. And as I was approaching 20 years of sobriety, Ken and I went through the 12 steps. I went through the 12 steps for the second time. And because it was in the height of pandemic and people were even masking outside, Ken and I would meet in the dog park here in Palm Springs and go through my steps. And I wanted to finish those steps before my 21st sober birthday, which I did with your love and support. So that's one of the reasons that I hold you as a family member. So one of the things that is in the headlines so aggressively right now is the whole fentanyl crisis. And I was just wondering if you could provide an overview of the crisis, your direct relationship to helping to defeat it, and maybe some experience, strength, and hope that you have about it.
Yeah, sure. And before I go there, I just want to talk about, what you said with 20 years of sobriety going through the steps again. I really believe in that. Like, I believe, like, I've done the steps numerous times, and I've, gone to treatment numerous times, even in recovery. And, that's recovery is a process. And for those that are able to get long-term, 20, 30, 40 years, we have to continue working at it. And I love that you brought that topic up, is that, it's not like a fix-all. It's for the rest of our lives. We got to be working on our crazy thinking, right?
Right, stinking thinking, as they say.
It's crazy. So I know it's a lot of crazy up here, and I need support. So, and even with all the years I have, I still, I got sober in 1989. I still know that I need that support, and I need to go to the meetings, and I need that community. I guess that's the best part to put it is, leaving Palm Springs was hard, and coming here and finding a new community. And that's what we really need to stay in long-term recovery. So I wanted to bring that up, when you said about
No,
doing your steps.
I'm glad that you did, and it's and the flip side of that coin is, or maybe the same side of the coin is, we keep getting to have breakthroughs.
Yes.
We keep getting to have
Yes.
breakthroughs.
And miracles, right?
Yes,
Breakthroughs
exactly.
and miracles. Like, our dreams become bigger, and then our dreams become reality. And it's only because we continue to work our programs of whatever recovery looks like for us. But it's a never ending process. And that's why it's so sad when people don't want to jump in with both feet and surrender to treatment and recovery, because if they only knew, their life would be a million times better. Look at all the celebrities out there that made it, like Elton John, and, who's the other guy that's, really
Brad
big?
Pitt.
Brad Pitt and all the big celebrities out there that made it. And then look at the ones like, that didn't make it, Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston. And look at how Elton John's life, all his dreams are becoming a reality. And Whitney and
And they
Michael
have been for decades.
for decades, right? And he's still going strong. And
He's still standing.
Still standing, right? And doing amazing and entertaining, and people still love him more than anything. His concerts are always sold out. But the point being is that could be your life, or this could be your life. And when you bring up fentanyl, the scary part about that is they're mixing all these drugs right now with fentanyl. So if you think you're doing a little bit of cocaine, you're not. They're mixing it with fentanyl. If you think you're doing a little bit of ecstasy or a little bit whatever, if you think you're taking a Xanax or any one of the drugs that they sell in pill form, they're mixing it today that look just like the pill would normally look like oxycodone, right? But it looks like an oxycodone, but they have fentanyl in there. And with fentanyl, people are dropping like flies. Like the statistics, as you said earlier with fentanyl, the statistics are huge. Like we used to be hovered around 70,000 deaths a year. And now I think this year we're up to 125,000. So it's not ending. It's only going up. It's only getting worse. So we really need to do some, deep work on getting fentanyl out of the country. Like it's coming in. Like when we had the opiate crisis, it was a little bit easier because it was the doctors overprescribing, right? And they went after the doctors. They went after the pharma, and I think were awarded billions of dollars with that, right? With the drug companies, the government got billions to help create treatment this past year. So we knew how to target that. With fentanyl, how do we target that? That's coming in from China and Mexico. There's no way to stop that right now. It's just like pretty much almost impossible. There's no doctor that needs to write a prescription, right? So we can't take that away. There's no drug company making the drug that we could go after because it's all underground. So we can't stop that. So I honestly believe the next way to do it is trying to get the narcotics department, the federal narcotics involved, where they create a TV show on what they need the public to do. Because if they create a TV show on what the public could do to stop it, it'll educate people and it might put a dent in it. But right now, I mean, I see it coming in, we have that horrible storm coming into Florida today, but I see it like a tsunami. I see it like coming in and just taking over a whole country, like just wiping out millions and millions of people in the next 10 years.
Are there any other people that are echoing this as loudly as you are in the platforms in which you are echoing it?
Yes. I mean, I hear it all the time in my circles that in my colleagues, but I don't think we have a solid enough plan. And the reason why I think television and the media would help is because when I started with the show in 2005, I would have to, when I opened up my intervention company in 2000, when a caller would call me and say, I need to help my son, what do I do? I would be like, let's do an intervention. And they would be like, what's that? And I would have to explain what an intervention was from 2000 till 2005. And then in 2005, when the show started airing, people already knew, like everywhere people would know what an intervention was. So it's a quick way to educate people. It's a quick way to get the message out there. So that's why I'm thinking if that platform worked so many years ago to show people like interventions help loved ones that won't go into treatment or are fighting the family and in denial about it, then getting millions of people educated that there's something that they could do, then this could be the same thing. If we find out what the narcotics department and what the federal government wants to do to prevent it and get the people behind it, I think that would be a quick way of getting us all on the same page, I guess is a good way to put it. Because if they're doing something behind and start talking about it and saying, this is what we really need to do, because it's going to take the people. It's not going to take just the laws to stop this. It's going to take the people, communities, like we talked about, us joining our communities. It's going to take communities to fight back on this fentanyl crisis, because it's already here and it's only the tip of the iceberg.
Well, thank you for raising that issue and responding the way that you did to my inquiry. I knew that was a topic I wanted to discuss. One of the things you said at the top of our interview is that there are many paths to sobriety or recovery, and a 12-step program isn't necessarily one of them. What are some of the pathways that you have seen that allow longer term success?
Well, like right now, they have medication assisted therapy, where people could go on Suboxone. So if like you're a long-term heroin addict and you just can't get in off of heroin, well, now it's even more heartbreaking, because we're seeing a lot of people that their drug of choice is fentanyl, even though they know it's deadly. That's the drug they're seeking. That's the drug they're trying to get. So if you're on fentanyl or heroin or opioids, and you can't get off of them, what's happening now is people are given Suboxone, and you get a small dosage every day, and it keeps you stabilized, where you don't crave the heroin or the fentanyl or other highs. Some people do, though. I'm not going to lie and say everybody gets off it. Some people take Suboxone and take their heroin or fentanyl or pills, but some people are using that as a crutch to continue to figure out how to get off of heroin and other jobs or other drugs where they're not functional and can't have a job. So our hopes is to get people on Suboxone and get them off the harder drugs and get them functioning. And then there's new 12-step meetings for people that are on MAT. So you could go to a 12-step meeting and build a community. And what I've seen, which I love, is the miracle, is after a few years or a year, people are like, okay, now I got off the heroin, now I want to get off the Suboxone. And, and any one of these, like Celebrate Recovery is one that, people go to churches and they go to recovery instead of 12 steps. So Smart Recovery. And I've seen a lot of them work, but I haven't seen as many work for the millions and millions of people that AA does, or the traditional 12 steps. So I'm hoping in the future, as long as they're functioning and they're not being a problem to their families, we won, right? We won. But for them to get what you just said about recovery, those gifts, right? Like the dreams becoming a reality and all of those amazing things that happen to us in, spirituality of recovery, those gifts that I believe that we as human beings are born to be on this earth, those gifts are all of ours at the tip of our fingertips if we surrender. And that's my hope, is it's just another step to get there. And because we're not getting there as quickly as we can, it's just another step to get there, for the ultimate goal to get all the way there, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It's a stepping stone.
Yes.
Um, when you so you've talked about a unique pathway off of heroin. When you look at people that are struggling with alcohol, One of the hot embraced recently by some celebrities that I think went on to swear it off, say no, I don't embrace that anymore. It's like the notion of smart recovery. I don't know what smart recovery is. So, what is smart recovery, and what is your opinion of it?
Yeah, it's a stepping stone, like you said. A lot of people can't grasp the spirituality around 12 steps, but the 12 steps also has that part where we the agnostics, right? So you don't have to have a spiritual, but a lot of people, for some reason, they just connect the dots that 12 steps is God, right? And they're not going to connect. And smart recovery, I love smart recovery because it is more of you have a facilitator instead of a secretary. Like in AA, we have secretaries, right? And we rotate. But in smart recovery, we have facilitators that work with us that lead the meeting. And when you do the meeting and the facilitators facilitate them, it's more of a group therapy session. And so it's a little bit deeper than 12 steps. The facilitators push a little harder, which I really like. And not a therapeutic, but more of a counseling. I guess it's more of a counseling role where they counsel the people that are in the groups, and they push them a little bit more to question their thoughts, to question the situation. But it's pretty much the same. It's just building that community on people that want a better life, that don't like living the way that they're living. So I love it because I don't care how people get functional out there. I don't care what they have to do. I think if there was another alternative, right? Like that could get you closer to being who we were born to be, right? Like to meet all of our dreams and all of our goals and all of those things that each one of us have. And when I was in my addiction, my dreams and goals didn't come to a reality. My nightmares came into a reality, right? So, and this recovery is about getting your dreams. And if there was another one that would get me there quicker or faster than the 12 steps, I would want to try that one. So I know I did some trauma work like 3 or 4 years ago, and that got me closer to it. So digging down, even though I had years and years in recovery, I went and did, 5, 6 weeks of trauma work, of internal trauma work, throughout a year. And I really, really learned more about how to get closer to my dreams. So I guess that's a good way to put it. I think if we could look at it, how do we get closer to our dreams and turn them into a reality? What are the steps to get there? And I wish they would teach us in college, or high school, do the 12 steps in high school and get closer to your dreams.
Well, so we've talked about, and I agree with you, by the way. And in 12-step programs, they talk about the promises, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a wonderful thing. So, we've talked about some unique aspects of the horrors of the fentanyl crisis. Talked about a unique path off of heroin through
Mm-hmm.
the Suboxone 12-step meetings, and we've talked about pathways to dreams. One of the things we really haven't talked about is what is behind uh, the the things that compel us to do the things that we do, from your opinion. So, for example, in my experience, I could qualify for programs around food, money, sex, beverages, relationships, and others. What do you think that is the commonality of the ism behind all of these various manifestations of addictive and compulsive behavior? Is there a way to pinpoint what's behind it?
Well, I think as human beings, we just want our dreams and our our goals to become quickly obtainable, right? We have every single human being, even if you're a 5-year-old, you have hopes and wishes and dreams. I mean, I remember, my mother just sent me home with this, with a bunch of stuff that she saved, when I was young, and that she had, saved in the attic. And there was this thing where I drew a picture, and my teacher wrote on there, because I didn't know how to even spell yet, that I want to be a doctor, right? At that age, I wanted to be able to help people. And, so kids to adults, we all have dreams, right? I remember this one guy, he's 80 something years old in London, a friend of mine, he's a doctor, right? And he's one of the most profound addictionologists in London. And he said one of his dreams were to be a musician. And so he stopped practicing medicine and he went to college at 80, right? 80 years old. I was like, oh my God, you still do that? What that taught me is that we always have dreams. We always have dreams. From the minute we're born to the minute we die, we have dreams. And I think with alcoholics and addicts, we have our dreams and they're to feel good, no matter what the cost is. We want to feel good. And like you said, when we eat, we feel good. Bulimics, when they eat and they throw up because they want to look good, right? So it's the fast way to look good instead of dieting. When you're looking at, drugs, I remember taking ecstasy and I was like, God, if I could just live the rest of my life like this, right? Where you're in love with everything around you and everybody loves you.
That was my response off of margaritas. I loved everyone.
Right. Yes. Right. So that's what we're craving, is that feeling. Shopping addiction. We get something sent to us by Amazon. Oh my God, another gift, So all of these things, I think for addicts, we're just looking for quick, immediate results. That's it. We just want things now on our terms and quickly. And that's what we do. And with sex and relationships and all of those things, they're called in our industry process addictions, right? You get one down and then it's like whack-a-mole, another one pops up.
I'm laughing because I relate.
Right? And it's like,
okay.
Damn, I did so good on that one. And then what do you mean this one's here,
Right.
And, but the point
and a lot of them are related to each other. It's like,
yes,
like I know, for example, if I'm, well, anyway, I know it. I do know. I do know. I get it.
Yeah, no, it's like whack-a-mole, right? Process addictions. And the thing is that that's what I think is all related to them, is we want our goals to be immediate. And unfortunately, if we took the time and the energy that it takes to get drunk and get high, like I remember how hard it was to get my drugs and get my alcohol and make the money to get all that. I remember the misery of trying to do all of that, right? If we took that energy to work in recovery, it's a slow and steady process. So I'm not saying, if your dream is to live in Hawaii, where I live now, like that was a dream of mine for many years, it's not, it was a dream of 5 years prior to when it actually happened. So it's not going to be immediate. The gratification, like the drugs and alcohol, is immediate. This is not immediate. Working recovery is not immediate. It's gradual. So that, I think, is the problem at hand, is that people want their dreams right now. They don't want to wait for them. They want them right now. And since they don't obtain their dreams right now, they feel like failure. So why don't I just keep on drinking and using what I'm doing? Because I'm never going to reach my dreams and my goals. But they have to understand, like, take the energy, take that energy. There's a lot of energy in getting high and getting drunk. I mean, there's somebody that, that we used to work with in Palm Springs, and he's homeless on the streets. You know how much work it is to be homeless on the streets, to try to get money to buy your drug and try to get money to, just to survive on the streets. That's more work than I do, trying to survive out on the streets. So take that energy and use it for the long-term goal. Don't use it for the short-term goal. Shift it and use it for the long-term goal. And like you said earlier, they call them the promises in our program. They do become a reality if you're willing to use that energy for the long goal instead of immediate gratification.
I have two more questions I know I want to ask you. And the first one, and they're related. The first one is, you work with a lot of people in early recovery because of the rehabs that you have owned and the interventions, and you do this on TV. Have you been able to pick the people that are probably not going to make it? Can you look into a room of people and just know from your own experience that there are certain people in that room that are not going to make it? And is there a reason that you're looking to that would cause you to believe that? Or do you look at this room of people in early recovery and think, oh, they all have an equal chance to make it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because when I went into treatment and into sober living, the professionals, that ran my sober living kicked me out and said, you'll never make it. Right.
Okay, then. Well,
so
now you go cheers from your
right.
from your mountaintop home in Hawaii.
So, that you really don't know. But what you do know is, when you kind of have an idea if they're going to make it, is when their actions are 150% jumped in. Like, they surrendered to the program, even though they try to create the program in their own way. Like, how many people come into the program and they read the big book and they say, oh, I think it needs a little editing over here. I think you need a little changes to make it a little better.
I'm gonna skip steps 4 and 5.
Yeah, and I think I could do them better and that's like most of us. So to say they're not going to make it because they want to change it is, I like that at least they're engaged in it. That's the key. They're engaged in it. So as long as they're engaged in the recovery process, there's a really good chance they're going to make it. So that's what I look for. Is I look for people that have surrendered, because even if you surrender 150% and you have both feet in and you're like, I'll do whatever. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, you get home and, things are going better. And, oh, I don't have my spouse not bothering me anymore. Everything's going well. I bet you they won't notice if I go have a drink after work before I come home, or go do a little bit of, of cocaine or whatever their drug of choice is. You just start, you could be completely surrendered. But I think the real key here is people have to surrender for the rest of their lives. Like, when people say they know, oh, I know, Ken, oh, I know. When I hear I know, I'm like, oh God, that one don't have a chance. Because I have, with all these years, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if I'm going to stay sober tomorrow. I think I will, because I, have all these years, but I don't know. And when things happen in my life, I realize that I need support for answers. And that's my community. I need a higher power for me personally. Like, that's what the program has given me, that I'm always praying and meditating, saying, like right now we were looking at this investment that we wanted to do, and it all looks good on paper. And my gut was saying, no, Ken, don't do it. Don't do it, Ken. And, and I realized to listen to that now, to listen to that and to other people, and, start doing the right thing to get to my goal. Like, I don't think that decision would have made me reach my goal. I think it would have put me back some. So those are the things that come to you in recovery. And that's the gift that I want people to get, is that if you get into recovery and you surrender 150% with, even if you think, I'm like, okay, I think this is the right thing to do. And then I like close my eyes and I'm like, okay, I'll try it, and then I try it and then it works, but like, another good example was we had this house when we moved to Palm Springs. And, I really wanted this house. It was behind 849 in that great community. And I was like, oh my God, I want this house. And then, we went to the bank to get a loan and they declined. So after 3 months of, in escrow, the bank kept saying, yeah, you're going to get the money next month, next week. And then they never came up, right? So then we finally had to tell the owner, I'm sorry, the bank isn't giving us the money, the seller, we can't get the money. And they keep selling next week. I was like, we don't want to lose our deposit. So, put it back on the market. And we lost that house. But because I wasn't attached to that house, we got our other house that you've been to, the other house,
Right. Yeah.
And that would have never been a reality if I was attached to the other house.
Mm-hmm. All of my spiritual work and other work, what work isn't spiritual, really? But it gave me, my philosophy is this: to live your life in the context of the greatest vision you can have for yourself, without attachment to timeline and without attachment to specific outcome. If you're not, if it really is important to you and it's part of your daily vision and it's always showing up, then you're not going to care how long it takes. So the timeline becomes irrelevant. And if you're not attached to the specific outcome, it means you're allowing for a power greater than yourself to surprise you along the way.
That's it. You nailed it on the head. It's the timeline. You can't be attached to the results. Yes, I have a dream here, but I can't be attached to the results, because once I'm attached to the results, they go away. The results don't manifest. Like, another good example was when we were out here 5 years ago looking at houses in Hawaii. There was this one that was on the market and I just loved the view. And I was like, oh, I want that house. And I was like, but it's way too much money. I can't afford it right now. So I was like, but I really want that view. I really want that view. And so then I said, well, the price is going to drop. The price is going to drop. So for months, I kept looking at it. And every time I looked at it, I didn't really look at the house because the house needed to be completely redone. But I would look at that view in the backyard. And I would just look at that view. And now when, 3 years later, when we came here to really buy, we put an offer on one that was way too much money. Like, we didn't think we'd have the money to get this house. And it ended up working out, and the view's better. It's in the same neighborhood, but it's even better than the view that I was looking at and creating in my mind as a dream of a place to live.
Is your laptop positioned in a way that you could turn it and show us your view? Is it logistically possible?
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna make you full screen, and we're all gonna see Ken's view in Hawaii.
Let me see if you got to go outside. I think there you go. You can see it better from the outside.
Yes. Okay, people.
That's Hawaii Kai, right under us, Hawaii Kai. So this is it.
You know what? I had no idea we were going to go there, but thank you for that. I think that this is a wonderful way to kind of wrap up, because we've covered a lot. We've covered some of the problem. We've covered some of the solutions. We've talked about the fundamental kind of driving forces of humanity and common themes in terms of what brings us contentment. We had some live viewers, so Christian watches almost all my shows now, if not all of them. He says hola. Lance Druckerman says beautiful. And speaking of Lance, he is one of my PromoHomo.TV superstars. So one of the ways I fund my work here on PromoHomo.TV, Ken, is people can voluntarily subscribe for as little as $10 a month. So now I have 34
Woohoo.
people. I have 34
Yes.
people who are giving me somewhere between $10 and $100 a month. And I'm working a full-time job to fund my ability to continue to grow PromoHomo TV. But when people say, well, what is it that you do? I said, I'm building an online television network, which is precisely what I'm doing. And every
Yes.
single night I've been broadcasting a different episode of one of my 6 television series that I'm producing and hosting. So I kind of have a dream too.
Yes. Keep it going. Keep it alive, because I'm telling you, you're working a solid program of recovery, and it will become a reality. You know, just the only thing I would recommend, don't dream too small. Okay.
No, you know what? I'm with you. I'm with you. And I've had some lessons around that recently about, dreaming too small.
Yep. That's
This
the
guy,
biggest problem. We're our own enemies. We dream too small. Like I remember that I'll finish with this one. Years ago, somebody said, write a check for how much you wish you could go to the bank and cash that check for, right? So, just put a number out there and say, I'm going to have this much money in my bank account, and I'm going to be able to go to the bank and cash this check, right? So I dreamt, a number that seemed at the time like impossible. Like I couldn't even pay my $800 a month rent besides writing a check for this amount. And they said, and put it in your wallet and forget about it. And I found that check, and I could cash that check more than once. So I would recommend, I wish I would have wrote that check for a lot more.
Well, you know what? You can always reestablish a different dream and write a new check.
I did.
Right.
I did that. And I'm still thinking I might have dreamed too small, but I think I would be very happy with the new check that I'm going to
Okay,
write.
well, I like this. And, in some ways you might think that we've been talking about financial success, but really
No.
it's the success is internal. The outside things that show up are a result. The
Yes.
happiness is within, and it's like ultimately I am living my dream, which is to honor and express my creativity in a way that makes a difference. That's what brings me joy.
Yep. And like you said, money has nothing to do with it. Money only buys comfort. Money will not buy that what you're talking about, that internal comfort, that comes with the hard work of recovery. And I work with multimillionaires, billionaires, and you can't buy happiness. So recovery is what gives that. And whatever your dream is, that becomes a reality by working recovery. And if it is to have money, great. And if it isn't to have money and just have a successful life at a career, then great. It doesn't matter. It's your dream. I just want your dream to become a reality, whatever that is for you.
Well, I send my love to you and your husband Eric, and
Thank you.
I miss you both. I got to come to Hawaii to see you. I think that that's the
Yes.
plan, and I can do live broadcast of Itinerary, my travel show, while I'm there.
I would love
And
that.
so hang tight, Ken, because I want to speak with you after the show for just a moment, if you have time.
Of course.
So thank you again, Ken. And
Thank you.
thank you all for watching at home, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Until next time, with Ken Seeley, I'm Nicholas Snow.